Welcome to the RC Roundtable podcast, where we discuss the latest RC hobby news, events, model reviews, and a whole lot more. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 204 of the RC Roundtable. And joining me is Terry Dunn.
Hey.
Yeah. And Lee Ray. How you doing?
Hey. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm here.
This is obviously the most exciting version of the RC Roundtable. So, grab a pillow and a comfy chair, and we'll see you in the morning.
So for
On a
those
scale of 1
only,
to 10, this episode has already started at 4.
well, I think we peak at a 5. So, what's that in your hand there, Fitz?
Nothing.
Well, you had a little.
The other hand fits.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What kind of airplane was it? Don't be coy.
Oh, you mean this?
That's the one. It's all. Is that a Betty?
Very good.
Okay.
Oh, Betty, how I love these so.
Trying to attack.
Come at me, round eye.
For those of you visually impaired, I'm holding my P-38 and attacking Fitz's
Reenacting
target.
Of course,
the
Lee.
Yamamoto.
Yes.
I was just going to say, both airplanes were involved in a very famous incident, right?
Yeah. Didn't we take you down?
Yes.
Couple of us good guys here took you down.
Yeah, of course, referring to the case where Admiral Yamamoto, the architecture of the Pearl Harbor, was shot down while flying in Bettys by P-38s. That was a result of being able to decode the Navy codes from Japan and the long-range ability of the P-38 as well. So,
Yeah. They
here's
flew
your
up
history
and
lesson for
headed
today.
out.
Yep.
They were on a mission from God.
Were they wearing their sunglasses and flying?
Yeah. It's like
Yeah. Well, speaking of planning, we have done 0 for this episode.
Oh, yeah, we're just going to be winging it, literally.
It was, hello, are we recording tonight? Okay, see you there. And then we hit the record button, and here you are.
Yeah. Welcome to the RC Roundtable and stuff.
Yeah, I think we'll be swinging vine to vine like Tarzan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. All right, so there's the big topic that I know we want to talk about, and that can probably be broken down into a few subtopics, but there's also things that I want to hear about from you guys. So I'm more important. Let's do mine first, and then if we have time, we'll talk to you guys. How's that sound?
Okay. We'll just jump right in it then.
Yeah. All right, so obviously the big topic is the NEAT Fair. I just got back 2 nights ago. Today's Wednesday. So, yeah, I got back Monday night, and I had a super duper time. Let me summarize that. I was there from last Wednesday through Monday morning, and I
Wednesday,
could not.
really?
Yeah, I got there. When did I get there? Like early Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, I didn't know you were there that early. Interesting.
Yeah, the official event starts, I think, on Friday, but lots of people start getting there early, even people that aren't part of the setup, even like the weekend before.
You going to kick out the hippies?
Yeah. But I think the bulk of people start arriving on Wednesday, including me, and that leaves a nice big chunk of time to experience the NEAT Fair. So I'll try to go chronologically, at least starting out, and do maybe a little bit of a travel log to give you guys the essence of what happened. So I left here last Tuesday morning, and our buddy Richard Ng was up at Oshkosh, and we got to talk to him, and he told us about a hobby shop that he had visited in Milwaukee, and I have to drive right through Milwaukee on my way to New York. And so he had a good description of this place called Happy Hobby. And apparently there's at least 2 locations in Milwaukee. And they're, from his description, they sounded like the kind of hobby shop that we particularly enjoy, one that's been there forever, not particularly organized. They got stuff from decades ago. And my experience would mirror that completely. So it's not in the best part of Milwaukee. Slightly sketch. I felt safe there during the day. I'm not so sure I would have felt safe there at night. But anyway, there's a big sign out front. But other than that, the outside of the building, there's no indication that it's a hobby shop. So, I mean, to look at right now, you're showing the aisle of plastic model kits.
Yeah.
It's just kind of pandemonium, right? Things aren't stacked neatly. I'm not sure they're in any order.
That carpet used to be white.
Yeah, there's green carpet. It may actually be grass. We don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say it is now a chia pet.
Right. And
Yeah, it looks very haphazard.
right. And as I go through this, trying to describe this hobby shop, I'm going to say some things that may sound like insults. None of what I'm about to say is intended as an insult. I love this type of hobby shop with this type of disarray and pandemonium. So yeah, don't mince my words. This is all a good thing. So I think what we're looking at here is the car aisle. And it's hard to capture everything because everything is really tightly confined. You're literally stepping over things to get through the store. And it's hard to tell, but on the left is a glass case, and there's a bunch of bins, the little parts bins. At first, it seems like things are organized. They'll be like, these are Team Associated car parts. And then you go through there, and it's it might be Team Associated. It might be from this decade. It might be from the 1970s. If you had a specific part you were looking for, you would spend hours and hours trying to find it and may not come up with it. So one of you is scrolling through the pictures that I took. One of the pictures is a Team Losi part that was probably from the 1990s. And there it is right there. See, the name of this is foam things. And they're just little foam donuts that go over ball links and help keep dirt from going into the ball links. What exists in this bag now is literally dust.
The atoms of said foam things.
It's completely disintegrated.
Yeah, and this was in the Losi bin with all the other Losi parts, and I saw that and it just made me chuckle. And of course, there's a vintage Team Losi group on Facebook, so I posted that picture yesterday, and it's been getting a lot of good traction.
Should have bought it just to hang up somewhere or something.
Yeah, my comment on the post was just add water. So anyway, so I went through the store. So you're showing now a picture of Jirobi parts. Jirobi cars were like 1970s. Like they're early, very early. Yeah, very early electric cars, and they have new and packaged parts here. So there's probably somebody in the world desperately looking for this bumper or whatever it is. And there it is on the shelf, and some other Jirobi parts behind it.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a ton of time because I did have a destination that day. I spent probably half an hour there, but it was just skimming the top. I'd wipe the dust off, look at the top few layers of things, and then keep moving.
There's train stuff there too?
Yeah, there's lots of train stuff. There's airplane stuff in each room, lots of car stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty small place, but it is just stuffed full of stuff. Oh, yeah. And there's this room here, I guess the lights did work in there. There was one room where like one light in the whole room worked. And so I had the light on my phone to see what was in there.
Like archaeology excursion,
right. But it was kind of fun. If I'd have thought about it, I would have brought
you go first.
If I'd have known, I would have brought a headlamp. Here, you can see that side of the room with the RC boats. It's completely dark except for my phone.
Is that a boat hull? It looked like a fiberglass boat hull or something up there.
Yeah, they have lots of boats there. That MRP boat is from the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's a complete new in-box boat.
Wow.
So talking to boats, recently, I'm not sure if I talked about this on the show. I made a quick trip to Florida for a funeral. And so I spent a couple days at my childhood home, hanging out with my parents and doing the funeral stuff. And while I was there in their garage, I found an old RC boat that I had bought, I don't know, after I'd moved out, but while I still lived in Texas. So it was a little boat called a Zigzag that Horizon put out. And I bought it for them to use in their pool. And it's been sitting in the garage 15 years at least. So I brought that back with me. All the parts are there. It still works, but it has kind of a canopy over the top of it. And that canopy was all cracked up and faded. So I'm just going through this boat section here, and I look up on the wall, and there's 3 replacement canopies for the Zigzag. I'm not sure when this part quit being made, but it was a long time ago. And I already looked around to see if there were any available online. Couldn't find anything. But I look up, boom, there's 3 of them right there, brand new. So here's one right here. And so I bought all 3 of them. I thought the universe was speaking to me, so I listened, and I bought them. So lucky score from you there.
I had a question.
Yeah.
How far is it from your house?
Just over an hour. So when you guys come back up, we'll do a field trip.
That's exactly what I was thinking. We need to take a road trip next time we're up there.
Yeah.
It's just pretty close.
Let's all bring little lights on our head, and bring your pith helmet.
Yeah, and so what you're looking at now is on the airplane section, lots of old ARFs and some early electrics. There's a Zaggy kit in there. It's really just a time capsule from the 1990s and earlier. Okay, pause right here. This airplane was on the wall, and I recognized it right away. This is called an electric kitten. And it was, I don't believe it was ever a kit, but it was released as plans. Probably in the 90s, originally designed for a direct drive Speed 400. But the reason I recognized it is because my crew at the Neat Fair started building them a couple of years ago. One guy, Carl Hampton, built one, and then everybody else kind of fell in love with it on floats. They can build really light, and with a lightweight brushless power system, they're true floaters and lots of fun on calm days on the pond.
Yeah, it's a very minimal design for construction.
Yeah, it's stick construction, not much to it, rudder, elevator, throttle. A really minimalist design, but it flies really well. And so I'd never seen one. I bought the plans from Thayer because after our crew started using them, Thayer generated plans and also a short kit that included, I think, ribs and fuselage formers. So I had that and was going to build one, but there's this one right here. I'm like, wow, again, the universe is speaking to me. Let me at least ask how much it is. There wasn't a price on it. I don't know if I want to talk about numbers, but the price they wanted for it was too much, and more than I was willing to pay. And it was so much different that when I was talking to the shopkeeper, I'm like, you know what? We're pretty far off. I'm not even going to counter offer on that. You keep it. And then she kind of goaded me and she's like, well, what is your offer? And I said, I was thinking $60. And she said, well, the receiver in this thing is worth $60. And it was an AR 6200. How old is that thing? Yeah,
DSM-2.
Right.
I couldn't remember.
Right. So
receiver's not worth $60 though.
No.
Right. And I'm not going to be rude. And
you should have said, here's the receiver. I'll take the plane for free.
Well, Lee, that's exactly what happened. So that was my response. I'm like, well, what if you keep the receiver? And she's like, yeah, okay, I'll take 60 for it then. And keep in mind, 60 is at least double what any sane person would pay for this airplane at a swap meet. It's not that it's in bad shape, but it's just a simple airplane with not much equipment. But
did it have any other electronics in it?
It had two HS-55s, and these are the old school black case HS-55s, but they worked fine. Yeah. It had a Outrunner brushless motor, and I think it's an 8 amp speed control. So conceivably,
so that's not terrible. That's not...
yeah, I mean, I didn't feel too bad about it. And again, that was my initial offer anyway. But again, I felt the universe was speaking to me. I wasn't going to get cheap, and this is a cool store. This was my offering to help keep them in business. So even if I'm overpaying a little bit, so I got it, and I took it with me to the Neat Fair, and maybe there'll be more stories about it later. But I now have an electric kitten. I did end up bound it at the Neat Fair and flew it. Another guy who had an electric kitten, Carl, the guy who started, he let me borrow his floats, which snap right on to this. It has wheels here, but the floats are really just a 5-minute swap. And so I flew it off land and I flew it off water, and it flies as well as all the other ones. So it was really neat to have this there. And I'm going to build my own floats and put it on so I can fly it off the pond out back. It's, do you remember the last time I went to Neat, I did the video of the clear plane that has lights in it going off the pond at night? Nod your head. You don't remember nighttime float flying? Okay, so we need to look that up. It's magical. Same airplane.
Oh, yeah. It's coming back to me. Yeah, a little foggy, but yes, I'm remembering.
Yeah, so watch that video, and that's what this airplane is. That one was built by Ross Clements, and he was there again with that particular kitten. But I want to get you guys acquainted with the kitten. People listening, it looks like your average boxy wing, boxy fuselage kind of airplane, but there's something magical about this design that it just flies really well. especially in calm conditions. So we can dive into that more a little bit later. And so, like I said before, I spent a few minutes rummaging around. I bought the boat covers and the airplane, and that was it. And then I got back on the road. So, yeah, if you want to just flash through the other airplanes here. Yeah. So they have car stuff.
Helicopters.
Are you seeing? Oh, yeah, there's a
I see a
helicopter.
helicopter ride. I see. Was that Snoopy's doghouse upside down?
Yeah.
Wow. Some RC cars. Look, just a neat place to, the tractor trailer kind of cat. Oh, neat.
Yeah, maybe that was one of the old Tamiya's. And that's the shopkeeper there and the counter. Like there was no place to set stuff down on the counter. It was great. Anyway, and she was very friendly and I had a good time there. But my time was limited, as I said, so I took my purchases, got back on the road, and my next stop was Cleveland, Ohio. And in Cleveland, I visited. Well, I was offered a place to stay by our buddy Steve Niezgoda of 13th Squadron.
The 14th Squadron,
So, for those who aren't familiar, Steve and his son Jack, they design foam-board airplanes, very nice foam-board airplanes, usually warbirds. And so they, Steve and his wife.
Speaking of Betty, I have one of their designs I need to build.
Yeah, you haven't built that thing yet?
No, I haven't. But I haven't forgotten about it, but no.
Yeah. So Steve and his wife put me up for the night, which was very awesome. It's almost exactly the halfway point from my house to the Neat Fair is Cleveland. So just a little bit past halfway, which was great for me. And I've been to his place before, but they had some new equipment this time. So I got to see all the new stuff. And I'm not going to divulge any secrets here, but once they're ready to roll on that, we'll have them back on the show and they can talk about all the new cool things they're doing and have coming up.
Oh, yeah, sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So the next morning, bright and early, I left Cleveland and highwayed it down to the Neat Fair. And this year was a little bit different. In years past, I slept in my car, which was not always the most comfortable because this is up in the Catskill Mountains, north of New York City. It gets cold there at night. So this year, I rented a cabin, and that cabin sleeps 3 people, 4 if there's somebody you like to spoon with. But I did not have a spooning partner, so it was me and I mentioned Carl Hampton before, the guy with the electric kit, and he and I were sharing this cabin, and I don't know if I lucked out in getting the reservation because I just called a couple months ago. I was under the impression that they book up pretty early. Either I'm wrong about that or there was a cancellation, but whatever the case, I scored a cabin and that was a superb upgrade for me. And so I just settled in. The first night, we have tents. I don't have pictures, do I? Eesh. The way they do this, the Neat Fair is at a campground in a valley in New York, and there's a full-scale grass airstrip there. I don't know how long it is. Let's call it 2,000 feet. And that's where the flight line for RC is. And they set up these circus tents along it, and you and your crew hang out in these circus tents. I want to say there were 24 of those tents, so it took up the entirety of that runway. So I found my crew in our tent and said hello. I hadn't seen any of those guys in a while, so it was good to catch up with them. And I'm going to give a little spoiler here. There was no wind that night. It was sunny and warm and no wind. That did not change for the next 5 days. So Wednesday night was perfect weather, and it remained perfect weather all the way through when I left Monday morning. Okay, there you go. Lee's showing a photo now that shows the circus tents. I say circus tents. They're not like pop-ups. These are stake in the ground with 4x4 posts holding them up. Yeah. These are substantial tents.
I like how they're striped like circus tents.
The music in my background is da 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 da.
Yeah. And that would be accurate for some aspects of the Neat Fair. It is a fun atmosphere, a fun carefree atmosphere like a circus. But yeah, these canopies are really great. They're not intended for anybody to sleep in. It's just when you rent a canopy, you get folding tables, you get chairs. That is the place for you to hang out and be. And the orange fence that you see along there, that's the flight line. So you hang out and keep your stuff in those canopies, and then you just walk out and 10 or 15 feet, and you're at the flight line. And depending on Yeah,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Do you have electricity out there?
Yes. Some people use generators, but there are a few outlets around, and we were able to tap into an outlet. It looked kind of like the Christmas vacation outlet with adapters into adapters and extenders, but we never lost power. And
Don't tell the fire warden kind of thing?
Yeah, and this is not something new. That it's worked that way every year that I've been there. And I should have mentioned up front, this was the 25th anniversary of the Neat Fair. They had the very first one in the year 2000. So this is
Wow.
Yeah. And
about what was the attendance you would estimate?
I don't know.
Numbers?
I didn't ask numbers. I need to do that because I'm actually writing the article about this event for Model Aviation. So I need to talk to the CD, who is Tom Hunt. His name, I'm sure, has come up before.
Did it
where'd you find these photos?
last year?
Well, I haven't been in several years, not since I lived in Buffalo. The last time I was there was 2021, so I skipped a couple of years.
I'm just scrolling through. I found someone who made a post, FR Sky Steve.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just doing a search and finding some photos. But it shows the valley.
These photos
you're not familiar with.
They do a good job of that. I mentioned there's the canopies, there's the flight line, there's the runway. And on the other side of the runway is the side of a mountain.
Obstacles.
Well, one big rock.
Terrain.
So when you're looking at your airplane flying, the backdrop is not sky. It is the side of a mountain with trees. And it's further than it appears at first, but I'd be lying if I said people don't fly into those trees. It does happen.
Like someone you know?
My Waco glider
Yes.
ended up in the trees one time. Yeah. I've told that story before, how it was just hanging there waiting for me with no damage. Yeah. And my W-29 float plane almost went in the trees until it was saved.
Oh, that was a transmitter incident?
That was the infamous transmitter incident.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so now you have a basic view of the layout. Huh. There's a few planned events that happen there. Each day they have a few combat events. They have one called Lobster Combat, Lobster with an H on the end. And I don't know all the rules of it.
That's the Boston version.
This is in the Northeast. And really, this event attracts people from columns all around the Northeast and beyond, hence why I'm there. And because it's been around for 25 years, there's a lot of traditions involved. And a lot of people have been going, if not the whole time, for a long time. So it's really steeped in tradition and routine. And so Lobster Combat, my interpretation, and somebody please comment and correct me if I'm wrong, there's one tow plane that has a long streamer, and everybody else is after that tow plane. Or after the streamer, the tow plane. Yeah, the tow plane itself is sacred. You're not supposed to hit the tow plane, but you're supposed to get a cut on that streamer. And it's just doing laps back and forth, trying to make it easy. Now, what sometimes happens is one of the planes cutting the streamer sticks to it. Well, then that airplane then becomes the tug, and everybody else is trying to cut it. And then if you make a cut, or if you're the winner, I'm not sure how the winner is determined, but you literally win a lobster roll. They give you, here's lobster with butter on a roll, enjoy. So that's why they call it Lobster Combat. Then there's a Warbird launch where they just, everybody with a foamy Warbird launches and you go for a few minutes and they play music, and there's 2 columns there. And then when they turn off the music, you have 30 seconds. Maybe it's 3 columns, but out in the middle of the field, there's 3 targets. They turn off the music, you have 30 seconds to land. And the plane that's closest to one of the targets is the winner. So when they shut the music off, it's just airplanes diving to the ground and tumbling and going for all these targets. And it's fun to watch. And nobody cares about the airplane. So they're sacrificing the airframes to win.
Thus, the reason why 9-gram servos are $1.50 a piece.
They make it up in
go to a
bulk.
swap meet, yeah.
And another event that they had this year that I'm sure they had it in the past, but I don't remember seeing it before, was figure 8 racing. So here they had 2 of
That's new.
like the things you have in front of a car dealership with the air and the man that waves his arms and flops around. Those were the pylons. and the airplanes were supposed to do figure 8 laps around the pylons, and you couldn't go above the pylons. So going above them was considered a cut, and you had to do another lap. And I don't know how many airplanes there were, 20 at the same time doing figure 8s on the same course. And again, there's a couple people watching for cuts. If they called you out as a cut, you had to do an extra lap. And then it was the honor system. The first person to do 10 laps had to land over here, and then they were declared the winner. So anyway, that was a fun thing to watch, and lots of mayhem. A lot of the planned events involve intentional destruction of airplanes. But it's fun the way they do it. So yeah, it's all in, it's lighthearted. It's in good fun.
It does not compute. Compute.
There's no hard feelings because everybody knows what they're getting into. Yeah. So neat stuff like that. Most of the rest of the day is open flying. On Friday and Saturday, they also have noontime demos. So any manufacturers that are there that want to demo their product, they can have a couple minutes in the air to show off. Same thing for any attendees that have a special airplane that they want to show. They can just talk to Tom Hunt and say, hey, I want to fly this airplane, and you get a spot of time to do that. So there's always neat stuff to see there. And another event that they had this year was the Nostalgia event. And I believe we talked about that on a previous show. Because this was the 25th anniversary of the event, the Nostalgia event was intended for people to bring airplanes that would have been available at that first NEAT event in 2000. So some stipulations here. It couldn't be a glow to electric conversion. It had to be a model specifically designed for electric. And it didn't have to be built back then. You could have built it at any time up till before this year's event, but it had to be a design dated back to then. It could be a foamy, it could be an ARF, it could be plans, whatever, as long as it existed in the year 2000 and was designed for electric.
Something you could conceivably have been flown at the first event.
Right.
Yeah.
And I should have looked at the rules a little more closely before I left. I might have strategized a little bit differently, but the basis of the scoring was there were 100 craftsmanship points, and that was divided among 3 judges. I don't know what their criteria were. I think it mattered if you were the builder or not, if it was an ARF or not, or whatever level of effort you had to put into it weighed into their decision or their scoring. And then there were bonus points. You got 20 bonus points if it had a brushed motor. You get another 20 bonus points if it used round cells, NiCad, or nickel metal hydride.
Yeah.
And then another bonus 20 points if you were using FM or AM radio, non-2.4 gigahertz.
No. They should add another 5 bonus points if you used a servo to turn your motor on and off. Fitz knows that.
Yes. And AM radio should have been higher bonus points than FM.
Yeah. That's true.
So when we talked about this before, I mentioned that I was planning to enter my Electro Streak because it qualifies under that criteria. And so I did. I took it because I'm using a brushless motor and 2.4 gigahertz and LiPo. It didn't qualify for any bonus points, but I took it and I entered it, and it spawned some fun conversations. At that noontime demo, they said anybody who wants to fly their airplane, anybody who's in the contest that wants to fly the airplane, here's the window. We did 5 at a time, and 10 of us flew. And then in the meantime, we all put our airplanes on display right by the announcer stand. So there was that. We had lots of good chats. But in addition to my Electro Streak, I also entered my Ampteak. And this is a plane I know I've talked about too. The last time I was there, somebody gave me. Guy popped his head in our tent, said, I got this airplane. Does anybody want it? And I want it. So
give me my plane.
Yeah, it's a Leisure Electronics Ampteak, which is a 3-channel powered glider, polyhedral wing. It had an Astro Cobalt direct drive motor in it, and it also had an old Jomar speed control, and it still had the NiCad battery, like a 7-cell something in there, and it had some interesting wiring because it had what looked like a phone connector where they could charge that battery in the airplane. They wouldn't have to take it out. They permanently mounted the NiCad in there. So once I got it, I did some modifications. Hey, there you go. There's an Ampteak. So I built a new firewall for the motor. I I took the NICAD and the old speed control out only because that speed control didn't work. So I took that stuff out, put a battery tray in there that would hold a 2-cell LiPo and still balance. And then I added another speed control. And that speed control I added is of the same lineage as the Jomar, just this one actually works. So the airplane, as I took it to the Neat Fair, was 95% as it was when it was given to me. I just did some polishing and some tweaking on it once I got it to make it a viable flying airplane. So I put that one in there too. And surprise of all surprises, on Saturday when they announced the winners, I won this trophy. And It's upside down here. Let me hold it right side up.
So does it say something on it? We can't quite.
Yeah, it says, this is the Neat Fair logo, 25th anniversary, Neat 25-year nostalgia contest, first prize.
First place.
I was stunned because there were some really nice airplanes in there. I mean, like super nice. So I wasn't expecting to win with either of my models. I don't know how the scoring broke down, other than I know that I won by 2 points, which I assume is a pretty narrow margin. Yeah. The only thing I can figure is that not many of the other people got bonus points. So with that antique, I got the 20 bonus points for having a brush motor. That's a nice model. It was built very nicely, covered very nicely. It's still in good shape. So I'm not trying to downplay the model, but I was shocked that I don't want to say beat, that model scored better than some of the really fancy ones. So I appreciate it. I'm humbled by this. It's lots of fun. I'm going to hang this on my wall. So, yeah, that was certainly a highlight of this event for me. So there's that. You guys may recall a few episodes back, we had a guy on the show by the name of Bill Griggs.
Did he make it up there?
He sure did.
Oh,
so fantastic. I got to meet Bill in person and chat with him for a bit. And he lives kind of near that area. I think he's 2 hours away. So he attended regularly for several years. And so he already knew a lot of people there. And it was like returning home for him. Bill got to reconnect with a lot of people. I got to meet him for the first time. I'll say he is as nice in person as he was on the show. And there was another big surprise for me. And I'm going to show you right now. And Fitz, are you ready? Are you watching? Do you know what this is?
Terry, you're going to die in a fire. Yeah, I hate you. Did you get it from Bill?
That's his model, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. So for those who don't know what this is, or those who are only listening, this is the BD-10, which was the BD-5 and the BD-5J jets. That guy, Jim Beatty, also designed this jet, the BD-10. Bill Griggs kitted a model of the BD-10. And this is an example of that. Now, the way I understand the story, Don Belfort, whose name should be familiar to you guys, he's a columnist in model aviation. He builds some very nice airplanes. He's been doing electrics for a long time. He's been attending the Neat Fair for a long time. Anyway, he and Bill are good friends going way back. And I think the way it unfolded is that when Don found out that Bill was coming, he was going to bring this model to him. So Don built it a long time ago. And from what I understand, did not have much luck with it. It would have been using a Wemotech fan with a brush motor, NICADs, 90s era stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you look closely, you can see there's some damage on it that's been repaired.
Yeah, the nose. Looks like something through the wings, too.
Well, I think that's more recent because in an effort to keep it light, it's covered with tissue. And that tissue has become brittle.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And you'll notice that there's 2 hook locations on here. I don't know if you can see those or not. There's a hook up here, hook up here. It was not uncommon for those early EDFs to have to use a bungee launch to get it going, unless you were Brett Favre and could really hook the thing. So
yeah, I've done that a few times.
The original location for the hook was towards the nose, but for some reason they couldn't keep the nose up. And so on the bungee, it would come down. So their correction for that was to move it back a little bit closer to where it would be for a glider and do more of an arcing launch. And apparently that helped a lot. But anyway, I'd never seen one of these before. Don gave it to Bill, and then Bill asked if I would like to have it because he wasn't intending to do anything with it. Don was cool with that. I was cool with that. So I took this thing home, and my intention is to restore this thing and get it flying with modern electronics. So it's going to require a little bit of work, but nothing terrible. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a neat airplane.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It has a very F-15 profile to it that I had never noticed.
Oh, yeah, the wing does. Yeah.
And Taylor-ons only.
Interesting.
So
they don't look very big for Taylor-ons.
Teeny tiny Taylor-ons.
Yeah.
Well, they're far apart, so I think they should have good roll control.
Ah, good point. Yeah, it's a white fuselage.
Yeah, I think it's okay. But we'll find out. And so, Fitz, if I'm not mistaken, you have one of the kits unbuilt.
I have a kit, yes.
Okay. So I may be bugging you to roll out the plans and help me find the CG or to scan some parts if I have to remake any formers or ribs or anything.
Yeah, let me know. I'm happy to look through it.
Okay.
I might get the bug to build it.
Well, there you go. And I told Bill that I would share this with you, so when you guys are up here, you're welcome to fly it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is nothing special.
There's
no fan unit in it. I do happen to have a Wemotech fan, but I would probably just put a modern.
Was that the 609 Wemotech? I think 70 mil, if I remember correctly, or 69
68, I think. Yeah,
yeah. You probably squeeze a 70 in there. There's a lot of good choices.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, you know what? I think the canopy just comes off. Let me see if I can pop that for you. Or not the canopy, but the turtle deck. Yeah, you can see. There's an inlet ducting here, and then place for a thrust tube in the motor.
Yeah, you have to make a thrust tube. Okay, yeah. So it looks like it's enough wiggle room to give a good sized fan.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think you have a fan already, or you have to go source the parts for it?
I think I probably have one. I got several floating around here. And speaking of upgraded EDFs, our buddy Adam Woodworth was there, and his entry into the Nostalgia Contest was a very nice Kyosho T33 with a modern fan system. And that thing flew great. So it almost encouraged me to get mine going. Go ahead, Lee.
No, I need to fix mine. I like my Kyosho, and I flew it at Joe Nall. Had a great time until I kept having the LVCs, so I just need to replace the ESC. Hopefully with the one you gave me, that 60 amp. The one you had in your collection, we traded off. So
right.
Yeah, good plane.
Did I give you? I thought that was one you bought from an estate that I picked up.
But you technically did give it to me. You handed it off to me.
Yeah.
So thank you for being part of the delivery process.
You're right. I'm pretty great.
Yeah, but those are good planes. So yes, you need to build yours. And I don't know if you guys knew that, but I did get my hands on another one, new in box. So.
Oh,
did you? Oh,
that
nice.
sounds somewhat familiar.
I
ended up with. I've got 3 of them. One new in box, one that's new but was at a house fire, so it's got some smoke damage to it.
It's got some warp.
Yeah, and another
smell.
one that needs some attention. But yeah, I just need to get off my butt and do it.
They are fun. They just fly so well.
Yeah, that's true. I've never flown one myself, but I've seen them fly. All right, so let me take a breath here. I've been talking a lot. Are there any questions that have popped up that you haven't asked yet?
No, people are like yelling at their podcast right now. It's like, no, let Terry keep talking. Stop interrupting, Lee.
I don't think that is the case.
That's exactly what they're saying.
I
want to hear more. I got to tell you, this is kind of like why we decided to do this podcast and I've been thinking about this, just listening to you right now. It's like we try to put shows together to entertain the masses, but really we did this because, we don't get to see you very often, and we're living vicariously through you for a neat fair until, Fitz and I get our butts off the floor and head up there. But it always sounds like you have a great time there, and I'm always intrigued. And I know you've got goodies somewhere behind you, since you told me you came back with some aircraft.
I did. I did come back with stuff. The only stuff that I have close to me is the BD-10 and then the trophy. So anything else I'll have to describe and/or get up and
I see. Okay. Well, continue on. Go forth.
Well, you just made a good point. You talked about me living this experience for you guys, but I literally lost count. This is not an exaggeration. I lost count of the number of people that said, "Why are Fitz and Lee not here? How do we get them up here?" And I said, I keep trying.
And how do we get you back down to best?
Our PayPal address is...
I even offered to give you a plane ticket. That doesn't seem to work, so we're in the same boat.
Yeah, I probably have the worst excuse not to be there since I have family in the relative area, too.
Right.
I really need to get up there.
So you will not regret it, I don't think. And I feel safe in saying this was my favorite experience at the Neat Fair so far, for a number of reasons. I'll go ahead and list them now. The cabin was a big plus, being able to sleep comfortably at night. The weather, if there had been a form when I signed up for the event, if there had been a form, what weather would you like every day? I would not have been so bold to ask for the weather that we actually got. It was uncanny how consistent and how great it was for 5 solid days. Perfect flying with it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what we need to do is just all 3 of us rent a cabin and then hang out 1 year up there.
Spooning optional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it fits 3 comfortably, right?
Yes. There's a bunk bed and then a bunk bed and then a full size bed.
Okay.
So.
And it's climate control and electricity.
No.
Oh,
there's a mini fridge in there, but in one outlet. If one guy suggested you bring an electric heater at night, but this year we didn't need it.
But the outlet only puts out 80 volts
at 5 amps.
And there's a treadmill you have to run on to make it work. But realistically, the only time we were in the cabin was at night to sleep. The rest of the day, you were out there in the middle of it, doing the things.
And the conditions were comfortable for sleeping inside, temperature-wise and whatnot?
It cooled down at night. I brought those mattresses in there. It's kind of funny because I assume they're trying to keep bugs out and mildew and all that. They're decent mattresses, but they're sealed in this thick, heavy plastic. So whenever you roll over or get out of bed, it's...
For all you bedwetters.
Probably a little bit of that too. But whatever limitations it might have had, it's infinitely better than the back of my Flex. So, yeah, no complaints.
Yeah, I think the problem is this year we just had so many events and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
For next time, we sacrifice an event so we can make this one neat.
Well, yeah, Lee made a good point that I'm just as guilty of not making it back to best. So we need to figure out how to make both of those things happen. So a lot of people asked about you guys. There were some people...
That's very nice.
Some people that you guys had met at other events, whether it was Seth or Nall, or there might have been one from Perry too, who had met you guys there that I met at Neat and said to tell you hi and close the loop. I gave away a bunch of stickers. I was really surprised by how many people came up to me and said, who knew my name and said hi and that they liked the show. So yeah, that was nice to hear too.
Well, yeah, I just want to say, thanks everybody who listened to the show, watched the show, that asked about us. We feel very humble and honored that you would request our presence. So thank you, and hopefully we'll make that come true.
Yeah. And I was mad because I have one of the banners, and I forgot to take it. I was going to hang it on the canopy, but yeah, I completely forgot. Yeah. So shame on me. But again, there were some people there who said hi and asked for stickers, or I offered stickers and they accepted. So
sticker me.
That part was fun. I could name drop some of the people. There you go. I could name drop some of the people that were in the tent with me, and some of them will be familiar to you. Others maybe not, but just really, I don't know how else to describe it. A wide variety of skills and interests just in our little canopy with 10 or 15 people. Thayer Syme, who's been on our show before, a great builder. He's interested in lots of different stuff. He had some cool models there. Gordon Johnson, who I probably haven't brought up before, he has been an innovator in the micro indoor flying arena. And we're talking about like itty bitty servos, itty bitty airplanes. And what's interesting is he has this network of people that's literally around the world. They have a guy in Russia that builds special motors for them. There's guys in England that help design electronics. It's a network of these very specialized people who are pulling this stuff together and advancing the world of ultra micro RC.
It's like a niche within a niche within a niche kind of thing.
Yeah, and like it's just amazing to me because all these people who are the leaders of this movement, they're in this tent in the middle of the Catskills. And then on Friday and Saturday night, they're in this middle school gym flying these world-class creations. It's kind of crazy. You expect these people, these things to be at the glitzy kind of promoted event. No, they're all very down to earth and just, no pun intended, hanging out just like anybody else in this gym. And they flew people in to do this. And another highlight for me was, I think it was Friday and Saturday, but these people gave chats. They had seminars about different aspects of microelectric flight. I mentioned earlier Adam Woodworth. He was one of those people giving a speech, and he talked about the creations that he makes using the UMX Ultrix radio systems. And I'm sure some of you have seen them before. He does a lot of Star Wars creations, like the ships you see in Star Wars that shouldn't fly on Earth, but with that power system from an Ultrix and the gyro, he makes some really, really cool stuff. So he talked about the strategies that he uses for that. And you guys may find it interesting that he also uses the UMX Twin Otter. So the Ultrix is a flying wing, so it has elevons, and so its board is catered to airplanes that use elevons. All right. The Twin Otter is very similar, with two brushless motors running on a single cell with differential thrust, but it has a conventional tail. So it has a rudder, or excuse me, not a rudder, but an elevator. So for his designs that would lend themselves to a more conventional tail setup, he uses a Twin Otter board. So very cool stuff. Yeah. And one of the new things he had there this year was, they're showing some of his stuff now. He had a 4-plane formation of F-16s or 4 tiny F-16s joined together like a Thunderbird's diamond formation. I don't know if there's video or photos of that. I have some photos, but I don't have them available yet. So both he and his dad, Lee, were flying those. So it was 2 diamond formations of F-16s flying at the same time, which is pretty cool. And they fly really well too. Not to mention that Adam's a really super duper pilot.
Well, and just to toot my own horn again, this is his after dark toaster that I told him to build. He was asking for ideas. Yeah. And so he built the little flying toaster. And what's really cool about the toaster, and I don't know if he's got the other video here. There's an F-18 there. The toaster drops the bread. It actually does loops and drops the bread. And
well, he does kind of a spin and it comes flying out.
Yeah, I don't see the video here. This is really good. So, guys, if you go to Instagram, it's AJ Woodpiece. That's his name there. But anyway, the video of the toaster, which I really like, dumping the bread was great. It's got some great views. It's actually one of his most popular viewed items. But he brought it to AirVenture, and I got to sign it.
Yeah. And at the indoor event on one of those nights, I guess it was Friday night, he had it there. And he was flying it around. I'm like, Lee would love to see this right now. He's like, well, Lee signed it. So,
okay. There's your
last year.
There's your F-16s.
So there's the F-16s. He had an Eagle 5, which is the Winnebago spaceship from Spaceballs. Just all sorts of neat stuff. I don't want to get too deep into this because Adam has agreed to be a guest on our show, so we can have him here in front of us and dig into this stuff a little deeper.
Did he bring the bus?
This one, the Eagle 5? Yeah, I just mentioned it. Yeah.
Does it go plaid?
Ludicrous speed.
Ludicrous speed, yes.
Yeah. So lots of neat stuff on the indoor. Airplanes, I can't even describe. This big, like proportional airplanes. They had a P-51 that's the wingspan is like this. Retracts, flaps, 4-channel controls.
Something the size of a plastic model. A small plastic
smaller.
model.
No. They have 72nd and 48 scale. And then they have these itty bitty things. It's
144 scale.
Maybe. The neat thing about it is these guys challenge each other to get smaller and more precise and to do better things. And they accomplish it. And the neat thing about it is it's not where one guy goes off to his corner and does it. They have ideas and they work with each other. One of the things they talked about this year was a servo. So somebody came up, I think it's a 1.2 gram servo. Somebody came up with one, I think it was in France, and then they're neat, but the gears don't work great. So then somebody else designed a new set of gears, and then they figured out they could print these gears on a resin printer. So then everybody buys a resin printer and they start working together to come up. Really
nice.
A network of people solving these problems and advancing this stuff. It was cool to hear them talk about.
Crowdsourcing kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of is. And one of the chats was about the benefits of resin printing, not necessarily versus filament printing, but just here's what a resin printer is and here's how it works. And I admit that I was not very familiar with the resin printing before this, and it is compelling. The surface finish on these prints is just amazing.
It's very nice.
And
I have one.
Right, so I might just use you. But it sounds like they're pretty cheap now, like under $300 for.
Yeah, I understand they are some pretty. As long as you don't need too big of a bed size. The bed size are typically pretty small, but yeah, you can get some pretty inexpensive ones now if you just want to try it out.
Yeah, and they get strong enough that they're making servo gears with them. So
there's a special type of sort of heavy duty resin you can get now that doesn't shatter. It's real. I think they call it heavy duty resin. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, I can see that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to ask to see specifically which resin they're using. They say it's like $30 a liter, and for the stuff they're making, they could fill a bathtub.
They don't use much of it. Yeah.
So neat stuff like that. Maybe the pinnacle of the chats, though, was on Saturday. And this goes back to a theme that we have here all the time, that aeromodeling is a gateway to careers in the aerospace industry.
In psychology.
Right. And here was a blazing example of that was smacking you in the face. So the chat that they had on Saturday was Matt Keenan and Ben Peipenberg. And those names may not be familiar to you, but I can tell you what they did. They were, I don't know their specific titles, but they were principally involved in the Mars helicopter project. And Lee's bringing that up now. So the Ingenuity helicopter that landed on Mars and flew.
That's neat.
Yeah, so these are the guys that were the movers and shakers in making that happen.
Special auto. I'm not sure if it was PBS or something. Did a nice on the Mars helicopter. I'm sure I saw them in it.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you did because they, at least for the airframe design and some of the electronics, they are the ones who would talk about it. Yeah.
I think aren't they working on the next version too?
A bigger one? I don't know. I heard, as is usual with the space business, there may have been some contract changes and administration shuffles.
Look at that.
But it could be true. So this looks like one of the prototypes or proof of concept models, not the actual rover.
Off-the-shelf servos and stuff on it.
So they talked about that. So the main point here, at least what I was starting with, is that both Matt and Ben were RC modelers, and specifically they had interest in tiny RC models. So they started working for AeroVironment, the company that built the helicopter. Matt first, because they were getting DARPA projects to build these itty-bitty spy vehicles for the Army, or for DARPA. And so he started making these ornithopters and other tiny things, and that transitioned into the Mars helicopter. And these guys both had a history at the NEAT Fair. And I think Ben was 14 years old when he first went there and was introduced to these indoor flyers and really made a name for himself as an up-and-coming small aircraft modeler.
Yeah, Lee has the wiki page up, and I just saw their names.
Yeah.
Ben was the lead. Can you scroll back up for a second? There we go. Yeah, Ben, design lead, and Matt is a technical lead.
Yeah. And so here they are starting with their roots in RC, and now they can claim to have a Collier trophy. And they also won whatever the British equivalent to that is. He told me the name, but I forgot.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I understand it worked a lot longer than they expected too, right?
Right. They got many more missions out of it than
72 flights.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had started. That's interesting. You talked to them. Did you? Maybe I'll talk about it offline. I don't say anything.
Okay. Well, if you have questions about it, that could be beneficial because I did have a sidebar chat with Ben, and he agreed to come on the show. So we'll see if we can make the schedules work.
Okay. So I'll just say that I have that's been in the work for quite some time. I have, well, Lee knows I do the Engines of Ingenuity sometimes.
Right.
And one of my scripts I started working on was the helicopter, the Ingenuity, into the, what is this called? The
Ingenuity.
Oh, it is Ingenuity. Okay.
Yeah.
I was confused by brains. Wait a minute, I just said Ingenuity.
Well,
yes.
Perseverance is the rover. Ingenuity is the helicopter.
Helicopter, yes. So no, I was doing an article on the helicopter. I had sort of put it on hold for now, but I've gone pretty far with it. But it'd be great to talk to them about it, get some first-hand information. So.
And I know some people were recording the chat that they gave, the presentation, and it wasn't like a slideshow presentation. It was them kind of like I'm doing now. We have some stuff that we can show you what we did, but we're just going to kind of, walk you through it. And if you have questions, raise your hand. We'll do that. So it was 2 hours and there was a lot more left on the table.
Did they talk about how they tested it and how confident they were that this would work? Because they can maybe simulate the atmospheric conditions, but not the gravity of Mars. I wonder. I'm curious how they did that.
I'm sure they talked about using the atmospheric chamber out at JPL. I forget if they mentioned gravity stuff. That may have been in there as well. But
okay, I'm just kidding. Yeah, if they come on a show, I guess we can pummel them with the interrogation, all these kind of questions.
Yeah. So as I was mentioning, somebody did record these presentations. If that becomes available on YouTube or wherever, I'll provide a link. I would recommend watching it. I have never been particularly interested in, I almost said unmanned, but that's a penalty now. You can't say unmanned anymore. Uncrewed space travel. Just for whatever reason, I just was always interested in the stuff that had people on it and never paid much attention to the rovers and the satellites that go out taking pictures. So I went into this curious, but not terribly intrigued. I walked out amazed by the things they accomplished and how they did it. And especially because they highlighted the way their modeling background led them to the decisions they made.
Yeah. There's modelers, going on to do great things. Some people maybe thought couldn't be done.
Yeah. And I'll repeat my own experience in the aerospace industry. My experience as a modeler made me a better engineer way more than my training as an engineer made me a better modeler, by a factor of 100.
Well, that reminds me of Kiker and friends doing the 747 carrier demonstration with models to prove that it can be done. Because their management said, no, you can't do that. He goes, oh, yeah? I mean, my modeler buddy's going to show you.
A little go back here. Speaking of shuttle carrier aircraft, one of Adam's new creations using mini Ultrix gear was a shuttle carrier with the shuttle on top.
Yeah. A little tiny one?
Yeah, a little thing. And so I asked him, can I fly the shuttle? And it doesn't detach. So I told him, you guys would be very disappointed, but.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So, all right. So we talked about many stuff. We kind of talked about the indoor. I know I'm skipping over huge chunks of what happened. I know I'm not mentioning people's names who are significant, and these are not intentional oversights. Just my mind is kind of churning through all the things that happened, and it's not being accurate right now. So let me pause here and ask if you have any questions thus far.
Oh, I don't know. Was there one model in particular that really stood out, that really tickled your fancy?
No, there were probably 5.
Oh, okay.
Just
5.
Yeah, and there's such a wide range of models there. I talked about the indoor stuff, which is itty bitty, and I'd been to the indoor event in years past. I've never flown there before. And this year I took a plane to fly there. And you probably remember my cobweb. I think that's it right there. The one I got, the carbon and red, like mylar thing. It looks like a vapor, but 3 times the size. You guys saw it when you were here. I don't know if you flew it. So I took that there and flew it at the indoor. It's easy to fly in that little high school basketball gym, but it was like I took a dump truck to the Indy 500 compared to the other stuff that was so finessed. And some of it, not all of it was necessarily smaller, but just things that these world-class modelers are building. And I wasn't made to feel unwelcome or, I forget F3P. Is this the video that I posted the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is an aerobatic plane indoor. We would have seen something like this at eFest. Remember they did routines with this. Yeah. Super slow motion. It's like you're watching slow motion footage. And I was able to fly one of these, not this year, but in a previous year, somebody just handed me the transmitter. Completely neutral in every axis. You roll it onto its side, it just rolls on its side. It doesn't start pulling a turn or anything. It just stays there. Okay, now we're flying sideways. Yeah. Anyway, so my cobweb, as it's called, flew fine there, but it just felt kind of clunky compared to some of the other stuff there. But I had a good time. I passed the sticks around on that. Several people flew it. There's what the video we're showing now is Ross Clement's Tumblewing, which I know we've talked about before. He took a UMX Champ and just put a rotating wing on it.
Double wing.
Yeah. And it flies great.
It's amazing that flies. That's an anomaly of aerodynamics.
Yeah. And I'm sure I've mentioned Ross before. Again, he's the modeler who had the version of the electric kitten that's covered in clear and had lights in it and was flying it off the pond at night. He is a superb modeler, young guy, great pilot. He's one of those people who gives me great hope for the future of air modeling because he does great stuff. He makes me jealous. His building skills are great. His flying skills are great. He's interested in lots of different things. He does lots of free flight. So anyway, we should have Ross on the show too. He's interesting people. So another thing I should probably mention since you're showing videos, we kind of broke the internet today, didn't we? So I posted a different video of Devin McGrath, who's a highly skilled aerobatic pilot. He's flying an ultimate profile foamy outdoors, and this is called 4D flying. So they have reverse thrust. Again, going back to eFest several years ago, that was kind of a new thing then, and everybody seemed to think that variable pitch propellers were going to be the new wave. But it just never took hold, right? And you don't see them anymore. But more recently, this 4D flying has reemerged, but it's not variable pitch. They're reversing the propeller. They're using
reversing speed control instantly reverses.
Darn close to instant.
Yeah.
And you've got the sound muted now, but it's interesting to listen to the sound, and you can hear as it's shifting RPM to back and forth.
So,
and go ahead.
Well, those type of speed controls what we had on that the quad that you had
right
some years ago.
Yep.
I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, so some of the tricks on this is you have to have a propeller that works reasonably well in both directions.
Right.
And that propeller has to be extremely light because you've got to stop that rotating mass and fling it back the other way. And on a smaller aircraft like this, I don't know what the span on this is. I think 40 inches or something. But it's just a profile foamy. And he's using, I think, a 3-cell, 325 milliamp hour battery. Devin sent me the specs on it earlier.
I like how we can sort of reverse and flip back in the other direction. It's just really neat.
Right. So it's
like that. That's cool. That's neat.
So it's like a regular profile 3D airplane, and then it's got the motor that can reverse, but also he has yaw control on the motor. So the motor can tilt and yaw only.
Oh, okay.
So that's some of the control that allows him to do these maneuvers. But it's funny. I posted this yesterday. Decided I was just going to post some of the videos I took. Noticed that I used portrait format, which a part of me died when I did that, but
Yeah.
you guys said I had to start doing that. So I did. So I posted on Facebook and went to bed last night. I got up this morning. Lots of people have been watching this. I don't know what part of the algorithm took hold, but this one has infinitely more views than the other videos I've posted. And
yeah, I've been watching it. I think we have over 100 shares now, several foreign countries. And as you kind of mentioned, the technique kind of died off. So there's been this huge gap where some newer modelers haven't had a chance to experience this.
yeah,
This is
Type
the
of
first time I've
flying. We
seen
used
it
to
in
see it
quite
a
a while.
lot 10, 15
Yeah.
years ago, indoor competition.
Yeah.
That was just the thing. But yeah, seeing this, he's very talented, by the
yeah,
way. Good job,
Devin's
Devin.
a good pilot all around.
And congrats, Devin. Your video is going wild. But yeah, over 145 comments. It's funny, though. Terry texted us privately. He was kind of disappointed. Some people are just making the dumbest comments and like, liar, this is fake, or
CGI.
this is so stupid. And it's definitely some really good talent. So if you guys are on Facebook, you can go to our RC Roundtable page and check it out, the video. We also have the video on our Instagram page, so you can check it out there.
But it really is either on the video or live in person to see an airplane hover nose down and then back up vertically. You have to rub your eyes and squint. And am I seeing what I'm seeing? Yes,
160 shares, Terry.
Yeah. So it's people are interested in it, and
Looks like a lot of comments too on it.
yeah. And again, it's ranging from this is fake to a lot of people are assuming it's variable pitch propellers. But it's not.
Well, that's what I thought.
I let Devin know, and he chimed in on the comments and is listing the equipment that he has in there and telling people, no, it's reversing speed control. But I'm just really surprised by the amount of traction that video has gotten. So that's a good thing. And Devin also had a different airplane. I don't know specifically what model it is, but it looks like a Eurofighter, and it's still a profile, but it also does the reversing thrust, and it can do some really neat things as well. So I'm not sure I have any video of that. If you look on Bill Grigg's Facebook page, I don't know if other people have access to it, but Bill took a video of the Eurofighters and posted that. And yeah, it's really neat stuff to see, especially in the hands of a pilot like Devin.
So something we haven't talked about is you have these videos. Did anybody video you in your aircraft?
Oh, no, but I don't. Well, not that I'm aware of, but I'm not sure why they would. Nothing of mine is particularly.
The Sonic liner was kind of cool.
Okay, yeah, the Sonic liner is cool. Well, I had that little cameo in Jay's RC Garage. Yeah, but that's fine.
No, but I mean, it
Missing
would
your
be
head.
nice if someone had some of your aircraft flying. So I'm reaching out to any of those who went to NEAT and saw Terry. If you have videos of his aircraft, please let us know. Email or share it on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Send us a message.
When I flew the Sonic liner on, I think it was Thursday, I was walking to the flight line. I had to go to the main flight line then. And as I walked by one of the tents, Tom Hunt happened to be there, and he yelled out, "Hey, where'd you find that Sonic liner?" It's for people who were around when the Sonic liner was new. It's a really neat airplane, originally Speed 400s. And so I had a chat with him, and I was going to let him fly it, but I never saw him when I flew it again. But yeah, lots of people were interested in it. And now that you pointed out on Sunday, when a lot of people were gone, so the event ends at noon on Sunday, and usually that's when I'd be leaving. But I decided to stick around into the night because historically the weather on Sunday is just perfect, and then everybody leaves to go home, right? But not only was the weather up to Sunday perfect, it was perfect through Sunday. So me and Thayer and Carl stuck around overnight Sunday and got in another full day of flying, including the Sonic liner. And we shot a little promo ad for High Tech because Thayer works with them. And so we did a little bit. And we did shoot some video of the Sonic liner then. So I don't know if that's going to be on their social media or what, but there may be some footage of the Sonic liner flying. Yeah. All right. So we talked about Devon flying, the 40 stuff. All right, let me pause again to see if you guys have questions.
Any other aircraft, cool aircraft? Got to ask, any disappointing crashes or something spectacular happen?
I'm sure there were crashes, but very few that I saw. Every now and then, we talked about those trees on the other side of the runway. You would hear the crunch, like the crunch we had from the SAE contest. You know, an airplane's just getting thrashed through the trees.
Yeah.
A few of those, but yeah, I just didn't notice that many crashes this year. Maybe it's because the weather was so good, you weren't dealing with winds and turbulence and stuff. Or maybe I just didn't see all those things happening. But yeah, it didn't seem to be much carnage this year.
How about you?
I didn't crash anything. I flew everything that I brought, and I'll point out that I didn't bring that many airplanes. I could count them, but it was probably 6 or 7. Purposely, because I didn't want to feel like I had to fly everything. And I know from my previous experience there that there's always 100 things going on. And so I didn't want to be burdened by also feeling like I have to fly all these airplanes. And also, I didn't feel like I had anything particularly new and interesting other than the Electrostreak, which I did bring. So most of what I brought was themed on old stuff, like my old Kyosho Valencia and the Antique and the Electrostreak, my old Eagle 2, which had a geared Astroflight in it. So stuff like that. And my W-29 to fly off the water. So yeah, I didn't bring anything particularly worthy of being videoed, but that also left room to bring more stuff home. There were lots of good deals to be had there. I think I brought home 8 new airplanes. Some kits and boxes, some foamy ARFs, the BD-10. I bought a night Vapor because mine got shredded at an indoor. So, yeah, a handful of different airplanes that I'll get to. Oh, Fitz, you'd be interested to know. I got a new unboxed GWS Islander.
Oh, neat. I
Don't
haven't
you
seen one of those in a long time.
Yeah, don't you have a Tri-Islander, or when you converted to a Tri-Islander?
I do. I still have it. It's over on the wall. I see the wing, and I see part of the fuselage. Yeah, I haven't flown it in eons, but it's still there. It's basically ready to fly.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to pull it out, fly around.
Brush motors?
Yes, it's got brush motors. It's a good point. Yes, brush motors. It's the Islander that I stretched the fuselage, added the third motor to the tail, and flew quite a bit at first, and just haven't touched it in the longest time. It's just kind of a neat custom decals and stuff.
All right. Well, one that I bought, gosh, I don't even know where it is. It was a Dynam C47, and for $5. $5. It had motors in it. I believe it had speed control, service. I think it's it needs a little bit of work, but I think all the equipment was there. And I've been looking for a C47 because what I want to do is make a Douglas B-18, which was a 30s bomber. And if you look at the top footprint of a B-18, it's the same wing and tail surfaces are very close to a C-47. So I think with a few tweaks to the fuselage, I could turn it into a B-18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but either way, for $5, I couldn't go wrong. Now, an interesting thing about this model, it has those brushless motors where the shaft is a threaded 3mm rod.
Oh, yeah. It's like a stamped metal can for the motor.
Yeah, something like that, which is fine. They perform well enough. But as I got it back in my canopy and me and a couple guys were looking it over, like, wait a minute, look at the prop nuts on there. What's installed on there, and I'm still not exactly sure how, is the prop nuts from an 049 that you would put the red rubber spinner on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were and those are 540 threads.
Yeah, so, I'm going to say those are SAE threads. They're not metric. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you twist it hard enough, it's the same thread, right? It'll work once.
Yeah, instant rethread.
Yeah, but I'm thinking 540 is probably bigger than 3mm. But I don't know. Yeah, I need to do some forensic work on that and see what's going on there. But we all had a good chuckle about that this, cheap Chinese ARF has these old Cox spinner or prop nuts on there. So anyway, so I know lots of other guys that I was with did some horse trading, lots of buying. There was a couple guys who showed up with a box truck, and I think it was from a hobby shop that had closed. All sorts of kits and ARFs and other stuff. I ended up buying 4 or 5 planes from them. They had
nice.
the table set up. They're like, this table's $25. This table's $50. And they were doing some pretty good business. Right. I got to the point where I really had to start thinking about how much volume I had in my car to get stuff back.
Yeah. So that's the real reason why you didn't bring many planes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was leaving. I was motivated to not bring too much to fly, but also the bonus was I could bring more stuff back. And I upheld that. So there was that. And another element of this, and I know we've talked about this before, I've called NEAT a drinking party with a flying problem, because there's activities that go on at night that are of an adult nature that kind of fun, to tell you the truth, a lot fun. There wasn't nearly as much of that this year. At least it wasn't as obvious, because in years past they would do the Chinese lanterns where they light the paper bags and they float off. Apparently they were concerned about fire risk this year, so they didn't do any of that. There were no fireworks for the same reason. They did do some other stuff. I talked about these groups that have been coming here for years, like whole groups of members from a club will come up and they have their own canopy and they do themed parties and things like that. So one night, a club, I think it's the Jersey Boys, they'll have vapor games. So people bring their vapors or mini vapors or night vapors or whatever, and they set up an obstacle course and you fly the thing and they get points for whatever. And there's a margarita machine there. It's, all very low key. They do fun things like that. One night they did a tent crawl, which is like a pub crawl, but you go from canopy to canopy for whichever groups are participating. And the theme was alien invasion. So me and my buddies were hanging out in the canopy one night, and then a guy in an alien suit pops his head in and starts speaking in some funky alien language.
In tongues.
And, yeah, it's all in good fun, and everybody's well behaved. So just neat stuff like that goes on there.
I have a question. Since you're so far kind of out in the Hicks, what do you do for food and stuff? Is there anything on site, or you got to go off wander to find grub?
There's a few different options there. It's literally a campground, the Peaceful Valley Campground. So again, there's the cabin. There's spots for people who have RVs to get full hookups. There's people who can go to tent camp. So you would treat it the same way as if you're going camping. A lot of people bring their own provisions. There was a food truck there, so if you wanted, they were there for lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
so
okay.
you could, if you didn't bring anything, you were going to be fine. I did a mix of those things. I brought some stuff in for breakfast, like bagels, and I had a few lunch items I could do. And the town of Downsville is about a 10-minute drive.
The city of Townsville.
Yeah. Downsville with a D, Delta.
D, okay.
And there's one restaurant there. And so there was one night that we went there. So there are options. Leaving the campground is not particularly convenient, but you can do that.
Yeah. And
there's also some people who attend who go to a hotel, which is, I don't know, like 10 miles away. But most people do stay on site. Oh. But, I didn't give any live updates while I was there because the cell service is like nothing. I had 0 bars when I was at the campground. Every now and then one bar would come on and I'd get a text or two. Then I'd hurriedly type a text to send out and then poof.
Just a tease. Atmospheric anomaly.
Yeah. And then we would drive into Downsville and we'd get into Downsville and then, everything would come in. But for most of the week I was off the grid completely. And that's okay. I've said before, that's kind of the charm of this event. You're isolated with people of a similar mindset. So, right. Any questions? I can wrap things up here pretty quick. I've covered most of it. Like I said, I'm going to be writing the article, so I'll try to fill in some gaps there. But anything specific you want to ask about?
I think we'll leave some of those questions up to our listeners. Have you guys email us, contact@rcroundtable.com, or join our conversations on our Facebook page. Let us know if you have more questions for Terry or about NEAT in general. I mean, obviously, when Terry talks about NEAT, it's like when we talk about BEST. It's definitely one of your favorite events, and we definitely need to go and experience it for ourselves. If you were to give advice for someone new, Terry, what are the 3 key items of coming to NEAT for the first time?
Plan ahead. It gets cold at night. It can get warm during the day, so make sure you're bringing stuff to stay comfortable. And don't bring too many airplanes. Just go for the people. And that's really the main reason I go. I could have gone with 0 airplanes, and I would have had a very nice time. And I would have had stuff to fly too.
Go for the lobster roll. The lobster roll.
Yeah.
Lobster.
But yeah, I would say at least your first year, streamline. Just, don't take too much stuff. Bring a few of your favorites, a few you don't care about destroying. And yeah, go and experience it for yourself. And I hope people don't, how should I say this? I think it's probably a different experience for everybody. So the way I experience NEAT is probably different than the way other people do. And it's a lot like Oshkosh. Every time I've gone, I felt like I missed things. I was always busy, but there was 0 hope of seeing everything because so many different things are happening concurrently. So accept that fact, and just live in the moment, do the fun thing in front of you, and know that there's going to be another fun thing right behind it. So that's it. And another interesting element here, I'll have to watch it again to make sure I'm not lying here, but Flight Test went to NEAT several years ago. And if I recall, they did not have a good time. They had lots of complaints about it. So when the flight line is open from whatever it is, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., they're pretty strict about how they run things. So they run a tight ship. They make sure that people are running out of flight boxes. They make sure you have a spotter. They make sure you're calling out your maneuvers, or if you do low passes or if you walk on the runway. They're making sure people are doing things right. And for people who aren't used to that, they can help you. They're not jerks about it, but they're expecting you to follow those rules, and they tell you up front. And then after 5, things get a lot looser. You can still fly, but yeah, you're on your own recognizance to do things right. And so yeah, that's it. It's a little bit different between when the flight line is open and when it's closed. And people fly all night long. Lots and lots of night flying. Lots of really cool stuff with lights on it. And I don't think I even mentioned the pond. The weather was so great, there was no moment that we couldn't go across and fly at the little pond there. And we did tons of pond flying. So I'll probably have pictures and maybe some video of that. But if you like to float fly, this is a good opportunity for that too. All right. So I'm going to close it up there. Like Lee said, if anybody has any specific questions, send us an email, contact@rcroundtable.com. If you have any differing opinions, if you were at NEAT and you think I'm full of baloney because you didn't like this or you did like this, whatever it is, feel free to chime in. Let us know what you think. Like I said, I think my experience is my own, and you're free to have your own thoughts. So, all right. I think the obvious question is, am I going next year? I'm not sure. It'll depend on what's going on with the family. It's a pretty good haul. It's 981 miles from my front door to the gate of the campground.
Surprised it's that far. I thought you were closer for some reason.
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Nope. So like I mentioned before, I split it up into 2 days on the way there. On the way back, I did it all in one day, which wasn't too terrible, but I'm not anxious to get back in my car anytime soon. So yeah, we'll see what happens next year. I'll start putting the full court press on you guys to get there, and well, sooner or later you'll make your grand entry.
Okay.
All right.
So thanks for the data dump. You're
welcome. Great. Expect a little more once I get through my photos and a few more videos. I'll post them, but I'll be saving some stuff for the article. So in a few months, look for an article in Model Aviation Magazine. about this
Look it up.
And speaking of big fun events, what's going on down in Texas?
Well, Lee, you've been quiet. You want to take this one?
No, nothing's going on.
No, nothing. No, nothing.
I'm just gonna stay at home this weekend. Twiddle my thumbs. Sorry, this is gonna come out after, right? I mean, this is our last minute, so I don't know if Terry can push this out before Bomber Field. But the 36th annual B-17 and B-17 gathering and Big Bird Fly-In is this weekend. It's already happening now. There's people already camping out. They're already flying and having a great time at the event. It is hot this year. I will tell you, we're in the 90s. It's crazy already.
Is that unusual?
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Okay, I just think
it was better last year.
Yeah, all right.
So it's pretty hot. It's going to be hot all weekend. So if you are coming out, if you're joining us, make sure you bring some water, stay hydrated, wear light clothes, put your sunscreen on. And it's a great event. I mean, I could sit here and talk about it, go back through our old podcasts. It's a great event. I think we had 150 pilots last year, if I remember correctly, Fitz.
That's big.
Really, yeah, we had.
I don't remember.
Yeah, because we were just
Isn't that
really
many?
pushing it. It was for the anniversary, 35th annual.
Oh,
So,
all right. Okay.
so we're crossing our fingers. We'll have a good turnout. There's always some great planes up there, except for mine. Mine will not be making it this year. And my quick rant is that I've been really trying to finish this Legend Models P-38. I took too long to get it started, but I honestly thought I could get it done, and nothing is going right. I'm really, really frustrated. So I'm speaking to all my fellow hobbyists out there. When you just get a model and you just cannot, for the life of you, get a part to fit or something to work right. Honestly, 80% of the problem is this horrible designed kit. Going on to RC groups, there's like over 50 pages of comments on this build and how many problems there are, and the nose gear is a huge problem, and I've run into that. So I've put up the white flag. I've surrendered. Yes, sir.
What brand is it?
It's called Legend Models, and it was then VQ, and then now it's like Nexa, and I think this is the version 1 because they made some fixes to version 2, mainly to reinforce some of the problems that were breaking on the version 1.
And how big
That
is it?
said, it's 86-inch in wingspan.
Okay, pretty big airplane.
So yeah, things aren't working for me. I won't cry about it. I'm not going to sit here and complain too much. I will just say it has put me to the edge of my temper tantrums. So I've had to go in the house several times and just walk away. And even today, I ordered some Dubro parts. Not their fault, but Dubro's for some reason. And I was we thought we'd share this on our show, but Dubro shipped at UPS, but for some reason USPS took over the rest of the delivery. Have you ever had that situation, guys, where a package was starting in one delivery service and switched to another?
If it did, I didn't notice, or I forgot.
I don't know.
Remember.
So it was
You
shipped.
think they hijacked the truck or something? It's got to be an arrangement they have.
Well, no, it had a new tracking number and everything. So I just
really?
don't know what happened. But it took over 9 days to get this little package, and then this morning I went out to go try to fit some parts, and 2 of them didn't fit. I can't use them, and it just set me back. So
Oh man.
Expectations denied. So anyway, I'm frustrated. Just wish I could have had that sucker done, and I really don't have anything else that fits the requirements. They're very strict for this event for giant scale, so it has to be 80-inch monoplane, 60-inch multi-wing. So I'm going to be dedicating myself to getting social media content, so you guys can enjoy all the fun and live streams that I will produce both for the AMA and for RC Roundtable. So follow us on our social media channels, and hopefully we'll get to do something live with Fitz on Saturday, because Fitz and I hang out there, and he's great. Yes, something wrong, Terry?
Well, are you saying you have nothing that qualifies?
I have nothing that qualifies for a Warbird mono wing over 80-inch.
Huh.
I don't have a Warbird over 80-inch. So I have plane. I have 3 kits that would, if I built them, they would they would work. But the yellow aircraft is sitting there in my son's bedroom. I've just moved it there. He's not here. He's in college. So no, that's okay. I'm okay. I'll be okay. That's me. Fitz, how about you? I think you have some aircraft to talk about.
Yeah, I'll have 2 new planes at Bomber, one of which was flown maiden last weekend. So the other one will have to be maiden at Bomber. I just haven't had a chance. But Lee, if you would be nice enough to videotape it, I'd appreciate it.
I think I'll be there.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, you mentioned VQ models. I have the VQ models B24. I think that's now the other company you mentioned. Millennia or
Nexa?
Nexa. That's it. Nexa. I think it's now Nexa. So I was able to fly that past weekend. That was something I got in a trade, and it's been kind of sitting in the attic, quote unquote, out in the rail in the easement for a while. And I finally pulled it down, and I was grumbling at it almost as much as Leo at his plane, getting this thing ready. It had all kinds of issues too that were latent. It had never flown, but it had been mostly built, but it had lots of issues. So I was lucky to get it running and going. It's 99% there. The steering's still a little bit wonky. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to really finish the steering. It's good enough, but it's still kind of wonky. And I've got the CY Models Bearcat, which is the one I won at Roundtop.
Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that B24. How big is that?
It's 110-inch span.
That's big, and you're flying electric.
It's electric. 4 electric motors, 4 batteries. Uses 4 cell 3700s, 4000s in it. Okay. It needs a nose weight. So in fact, I still had to add some pound in the nose to balance it. Right. Oh, it's got and one of the retracts is probably not going to work completely in the air. On the ground, it kind of just barely comes up. If the battery's fully charged, it's got a separate battery. But when I flew it, it didn't come all the way up. It came about 2/3 of the way up and stopped. I just got another battery just came in. I haven't had a chance to try it. That's an HV lithium. I'm limited to 9 volts on the controller. And so I put a 7.2 volt lithium, 7.4 volt lithium on it. Fully charged will kind of do it. And so I got an HV lithium 2-cell. Hopefully that'll get a little more. But ultimately it looks like I'm going to have to change out the motor, I think. And I've got somewhat order, but I'm not going to have time to get them in time and to replace it. So maybe by best I can have it done. But so
what do you know why it's struggling? Is it just a heavy wheel or something?
I don't know. It's because it's on the main gear, and one side comes up fine. The other side just you can hear it struggling as it's coming up. And I've swapped the controller. I can swap leads and everything. It's just that particular gear. I don't know if something happened to it. Again, I've got this used, so I don't know what kind of hell it went through before I got it. And so, but it kind of goes.
Is it electric worm gear?
They're electric Robarts. So they've got some sort of, I got this in, but I don't think it's quite right. It's got a little, from what I understand, I haven't taken it apart yet. It's got a little N20 motor with a ganged up gearbox on it, kind of thing. This is something that might replace it. I'm not sure. But I got some other different speeds on order I've got a better motor that after I ordered this, I realized, man, I got something else I could try. It's probably better. But anyways.
Terry's got an Astroflight he can send you overnight.
No, these are teeny tiny ones. So it flew okay because I flew it in one gear, with the gear just kind of hanging down a little bit. It didn't seem that it affected all that much. So worst comes to worst, it's just going to be, actually, our buddy Michael Eibel has the same problem. He has got air retracts, and every once in a while, one of them will kind of just hang partially down.
Do you also have sequence doors?
No doors on this one. There's no doors on the mains. The nose gear, the nose bay does have doors. I didn't put them on yet. I've been too lazy. I was just trying to get this thing done in a flyable condition, and then I'll fine tune it later, depending on how everything goes during the event. So yeah, it will have a sequence. We can either sequence the nose door, or I've been talking to our buddy Chris Wolf. He has one, and his has metal spring on it, and it's pulled closed by another string. he's got metal leads, wires that kind of spring out, and he's got like a fishing line or whatever you want to call it. As the gear comes up, it pulls the close. So you didn't have to put a servo in there to sequence it.
Yeah. I'm guessing this airplane's not a floater.
It's not a floater, but it actually flies really nice.
All right, good.
It's a nice flying model. It's great. It was kind of a pleasure to fly around. It's pretty neat, but yeah, it's not quite a floater. It's not terrible, but it is pretty stout. I think it's pushing 20 pounds. So yeah, it's got some weight to it, but it doesn't fly like it's overweight. It's got a lot of power. When those 4 motors are cranked up, it was hard to hold it on the ground. That sucker it took off really quickly and flew around. Even at partial throttle, it was actually pretty efficient. I throttled back half throttle or so, and it was just cruising around quite nicely. And when I landed, it had plenty of battery power. Set the timer.
It's a Davis airfoil.
Yeah, it's got a nice big thick airfoil, so it's pretty nice. So I look forward to it. We've already been talking to Liable. He said, "Hey, let's fly him in formation," because he's got a big B-24 as well.
Yeah.
This is a little bigger, but so.
Can you drop bombs?
Technically, yes. Mine is not set up to do that. It has roll-up doors on the side, but it's going to take some engineering to get those working. It's not. Nothing's in the kit right now to make them work very well. So I've been looking at that. I found some stuff on the forum. Some guy was trying to come up with something because there's slots, and I'm going to have to. It's going to take quite a bit of engineering because they weren't moving up smoothly. And I'm probably going to have to put multiple drive units on it so that it's, I don't want to get into details, but it's not intuitive. It's not something that's going to be easy to do.
Right. All right, cool.
But I'd like to do that at some point.
Okay. Now tell me about the Bearcat.
All right. Bearcat is ready to go. I've been talking to you guys on and off and showing pictures. Finally got started, got it running. I've been pecking at it to get everything finished. So
this is 3-cylinder gasser.
This is the 3-cylinder Sato 90 radio. This is the one we got at a auction that I couldn't tell if it was used or very barely used.
The Sato, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Sato, yeah. But it turns out it cranked right up. It seems to be running pretty good. I put a new ignition collet on it, which supposedly improves the timing, and there's a noticeable difference to the sound doing that. It's got some nice upgrades. It's got the Kalo ring. I've got the baffles in the cowl as well to help cooling. And I got the right prop now. Before, the prop I was using was a little bit too low on the pitch. So I've got the correct prop, although I haven't run it yet on that prop. So, but it's all ready to fly. I've been double checked everything. There's no more excuses. I got it balanced. Everything's set up, controlled surfaces. So the first flight would probably be without the cowl, so I can double do. I think it's still on the rich side, which is what they said to run it on. So I'll fly it around a little bit, see how that works, and put the cowl on. Try it again. If that works, if it all goes well. I'm looking forward to flying it. Looks like the videos I've seen on it, it seems like it's actually a pretty nice flying model. It seems like it has a lot of wing area and stuff on it, despite having to add weight to the tail. Like the first model ever that I had to add weight to the tail because it was really, really nose heavy.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, cool. Good luck with it.
So looking forward to flying both of them at the event. This will be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they both will fit in the car without me having to take the trailer. That will be interesting. I haven't tried squeezing them in yet.
Yeah, that's a lot of airplane.
It is, yeah. One's the B-24 is just long, and the Bearcat is kind of fat and stout.
Just bring the trailer. Tail. Come on, man.
That's plan B. We'll see.
Okay. Right. So what days are you guys planning to be at Bummer?
That's a good question. Well, I'm going to see if I can sneak up there Friday.
Okay.
I don't know about you, Lee. I don't know what your schedule is. Will you make it Friday or on Saturday? You'll be there Friday. Okay, great. Fantastic. All right. So I'll see you Friday then.
So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Nope, just Saturday. Friday and Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can do Sunday either. I've got some other commitments, but that'll be fine. Friday, Saturday. So I'll probably be up. I'm going to see if hopefully I won't have work in the way on Friday, so I can get up there fairly early.
Right. Okay. And Do you guys stay at the field or do you go home between?
He stays at Shea Ray.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
You
hang out
don't
at
camp at
Lee's
the
place.
field, though.
No, we've never done that.
Okay. I think some people do. People with RVs.
Oh, yeah. There's
yeah.
tons.
Yeah.
And they've made some upgrades to Bomber now, so they actually rent out RV spaces. They were selling 30 amp and 50 amp spaces, if I'm not mistaken,
Oh, wow.
this year. So I think that's kind of new. If they had them before, I think they've doubled it or something because they've been really pushing that.
Maybe that's why they got rid of they had the little scale town
tank.
for the tanks. Yeah, they got rid of that for more parking space. I guess that's why.
And I'll bring a canopy with me, so we might be able to put a canopy down the flight line, kind of where Mike stays, and I'll just leave it there. So we'll have it for Saturday.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
So I can throw in a table and some chairs in my truck.
Did we actually talk about what this event was? I think we just went right into it in case new people were wondering what the heck we're talking about.
He said it.
If you go to bomberfieldusa.com, it's a beautiful little asphalt runway in Monteville, Texas. Gosh, I've been going there since I was a kid, since my dad was still alive. And even taking my wife there. I don't know, did y'all ever see the photos I posted? I think it was on my own page of photos I took when they had the tower there.
Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have some photos.
Control
up
tower
there.
kind of thing?
I'll share them on our RC Roundtable Facebook page, and I'll include them with the photos I take this year. So, and I've gone, again, that's usually what I do is I go to take photos and video. And so some of the, in fact, they do have I think Joe Vermillion helped put the little promo video together. I sent him a lot of footage from me to use in that. So, but I've got several on YouTube, and of course my favorite, most viewed video of the B-17, crashing, trying to land.
Most viewed, most stolen.
Most stolen, exactly.
Yeah.
That one.
You should
two
be
big
flattered.
ones.
Just to go over the fond memories of Bomber, like Fitz nearly died twice. He nearly had his head chopped off by a
maybe I shouldn't go.
Texan, and
Full
almost
scale.
had a B-17 kill him. Huh?
That was a full Texan.
Full scale Texan. He was like, "What?" That was his response, and we have it on video. That's even better because Austin was still recording, and to hear Fitz coming across the runway is just precious. But oh my god, that video is so good! Like when that P-51 came right over our heads.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I hope they do another full scale flyover again.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So, good time, and we'll quick shout out to Legend Hobbies or Legend Hobby, right? Thank you,
Hobby.
Tomas, for sponsoring this event and getting a lot of vendors. Boy, I tell you, I've been seeing nonstop raffle prizes. I mean,
cool.
I really didn't want to spend any money. I might have to put $20 in at least. Normally, I put about
Yeah, I
100.
saw some stuff too. I was like, I might actually spend some money this year.
Yeah.
Usually I don't. I was like, whoa.
I don't win anything. I'm a loser at Bomber, so I'll put $10 in and cross my fingers.
Didn't you win the P-38 you're talking about?
No. I bought that
No,
in
we bought
cash.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I got a good deal. Don't get me wrong, but no, I paid cash for that. And anyway.
Well, speaking of, I need to talk to you, Fitz, because one of the planes I brought home from NEAT was a plane I won in their pilot raffle. It's an FMS Flash. Pointy little thing.
Flash.
Long nose, swept wing, pusher prop.
Oh,
speedy,
yeah.
go fast.
Yeah, that's
So,
familiar.
yeah.
Yeah. Going right over there, yes.
Yeah, I watched your video on it earlier today. And I also watched your new video on the, what is it, the bird, something bird?
Oh, the Magic Bird.
Magic bird, yeah.
Yeah, Magic Bird
good stuff,
Pylon
man.
Raiser.
Yeah.
Yeah, neat. Oh, thanks.
So yeah, I was going to ask you for some tips on the Flash. Before
Sure, if I can remember.
you just have to watch your own video to
Yeah,
remember.
I haven't flown in a little while, but it definitely gets the adrenaline running when you fly that sucker.
Yeah, I had an extra receiver with me, so I was considering setting it up and maidening mine up in New York, but the gyro that comes with it didn't react the way I expected it to. So I'm like, I'll mess with it when I get home.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. Well, you boys have fun. The forecast looking favorable for you. I know you said it would be hot, but
No rain, just heat,
okay. Wind
which is
reasonable?
deadly. Just so you know. No, but I think we'll be good. And again, I'm really hoping for more than 120 pilots this year. It should be great.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And Ryan will be joining me Saturday, so he'll be grabbing some photos too, getting some experience.
Well, you guys asked me about food. Is this where they did the giant pizza last year? You can have another giant pizza?
Oh, I think there
Yes.
will be.
Yes,
Okay.
he said on Friday there will be a giant pizza.
Nice. What was the diameter of that thing? Like 8 feet? Something ridiculous.
Something like that, yeah, at least.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was okay, too. It's just interesting to watch him make it, because it literally takes him several hours to get the
I'm
thing
sure.
set up. And you usually have to conjure up a bunch of helpers in order to move it on and off the grill and that kind of stuff. So,
Right.
and I think last year they had arranged a pepperoni in the shape of a B-17 or something like that on it. So
Yes.
it's kind of,
Yeah.
he has kind of fun with it.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
All right.
And whatever else shows up. Usually some good stuff that shows up. So look forward to it. We'll give you a post-mortem report the next show.
Or maybe some real-time feed.
Well, sure.
Well,
Yeah, we'll do
I
that.
said, yeah, hopefully Fitz and I will do some live stuff
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool.
on Saturday.
Well, hot dog. Y'all have fun.
We will endeavor to do so.
All right. So is there anything else we want to talk about? Best is coming up. So everybody make plans to go to Best.
Yeah, next week.
We'll talk about that in the next episode. I do want to interject this one, though, because we help sponsor this event. The Richardson Swap Meet is in November. They had to move their venue this year. But Fitz and I should be there, although Fitz is like on the fence. He's got another event he wants to go to. You know, because they changed the date, he's got an out. He's like, oh, well, I had made other plans. But I will try to be there because we've always had a good time there. And if so, Ryan and I will go. We'll bring the trailer. Maybe we'll get lucky and find those, $25 and $50 tables and grab some aircraft. But you guys can go to www.rrcc.org for the Richardson Swap Meet. It's up in Dallas. I don't know particularly where the First Baptist Richardson Gymnasium is. Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, I didn't look
But
it
it's
up
off the
yet.
Central Expressway. But tables are $25, and large aircraft. Why does it say large aircraft $10? What do you think that means? I just saw that. I figured admission was one thing, but
That's probably. Yeah, go ahead.
the big auction. Yeah, if you're putting a large plane on display, there's a huge room they set them up
Yeah.
for.
It was just basically set on the floor in a special area.
So if you don't need a table, then you can pay to put your airplane in
I
the...
guess
Right.
that's it. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But it's always fun. It's always good stuff, and we've come home with our hands full on several aircraft and goodies. So I will be there. So put that on your calendar. And as Terry mentioned, we have Best coming up next month in 3 weeks.
That soon. Wow.
Wow, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So coming up fast. Hope I can get the P-38 done. If not, I'll just fix a couple other planes and just take it easy. Like Terry said, I'll just take it easy. I'll bring a couple planes and just be social. Hang out with my friends.
All right. You heard it here.
such a I'm such a liar.
Lee's not going to pack in a project right before. He's not going to bring his whole shop.
It's why you love me, Terry.
Well, honestly, your propensity to overpack has saved me and other people many times. So thank you.
Especially this guy.
Yeah.
Many a times I've had Terry. He just reaches over and says, "Do you have this?" He just reaches over, grabs it, and he's back at his table. I'm really just Fitz's secondhand man there. Yeah. I'm his little what do you call it? Tool man.
I'd be useless without you.
But we have fun, and so we'll see Sparky and my buddy Steve. We're actually doing brisket again this year, Fitz.
Is it?
Remember the brisket last year we had?
That was
In
good
the
stuff.
kitchen?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Steve's
a lot
making
of it,
brisket
too.
again. So
Oh,
I need to put
fantastic.
you on the potluck list. So anyway, Best, October 4th, 5th. New Waverly, Texas. Tri-County Barnstormers. We'll talk about it again. Look it up. And I think that's about it. So we'll have another podcast soon, very soon.
Yeah.
Probably next week, because Fitz and I will love to talk about what we have to tell about it from Bomber.
All right. And not only that, but we have several guests who have agreed to come on the show. We need to make those things happen before
All right,
they
we gotta line them
get
up.
stale. Yeah.
Well, then you do that. You bring a guest so they can listen about Bomber, and then we'll talk to them afterwards.
Okay.
They may have good questions. You don't know.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
They might be all into it. They're like, we always hear about Bomber. It's so nice to hear Lee and Fitz talk about it.
And we need to do another RC rescue. We've got so much to do, fellas.
Oh my God! How about RC beat the crap out of it and try to finish it? Rescue. That's
RC
me right now.
Expletive.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh. I do have one last thing before we go. I gotta give a little shout out to my buddy Phil Hinkle. I don't know if you can see it because of the condensation on the glass, but Phil sent me a P38 glass.
Oh, that's very nice.
Can you see that little etch glass? So I think someone in their club etches glass, and he asked if his buddy can make a P38. And
snazzy.
Cheers, Phil! Thank you so much. I told you I'd be drinking, but this is not whiskey. This is ginger ale. But I've been enjoying it, so thank you very much. It is now a great addition on my desk here for our podcast.
Yeah, so speaking of Phil, his club is having an event this weekend. This is in Beloit, Wisconsin, down near the Illinois border. I've been the past 2 years. I'm not so sure I'm going to make it this weekend. Most likely not, only because I still haven't unpacked from Neat yet. And yeah, so I'm probably going to sit this one out. But anybody who's around there, Chicago area or Madison, Wisconsin area, lots of neat stuff there. I would encourage you to go. Fun club. There's usually a good swap meet. So it's called the Flying Circus, I believe. So yeah, check it out.
It's the club officially sanctioned by Monty Python.
Right. All right, Fitz, I think we're ready for you to make it happen.
All right, Uncle. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Terry, for the in-depth data dump we got from the Neat Fair. Hopefully, Lee and I will get there at some point in the not-too-distant future.
Hope floats, Fitz.
Hope floats eternal. All right, thanks, everybody, for listening.
That's not how that goes.
Oh, well, it does. It does for me.
It does for this, exactly. Fitz is talking, can be whatever he wants.
Yeah. Hey, you hand it over to me, you get what you get. As Lee mentioned, if you have any comments, criticisms, complaints, send them to Terry. Yep. Contact at rcroundtable.com. Please like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're on any of the various forms of audio podcasts, just give us a thumbs up or something like that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we will see you at some event sometime in the future. And until next time, we will talk to you later.
Bye.
Please visit our website at rcroundtable.com. That's where you will find all of our podcast episodes. You can also find a little bit of background information about the show host and leave comments and suggestions about the show. There are links to a few of our favorite vendors and also links to our various social media accounts. Thank you for watching and listening.